In this video, I'm going to introduce the idea of a graph of a straight line. I'm going to talk about what x and y intercepts are, what slope is, and what the equation generally looks like. So, before I start on those four things, I'd like to point out that this is a graph we can see from our coordinate system, and then this is a line drawn on the graph. So, we're talking about lines in different directions when we talk about the graph of a straight line. I would also like to point out that there is an arrow on either side, which indicates that the line just keeps going in this direction and just keeps going in this direction. It doesn't stop where I stopped drawing it. It's just that that's all I drew. And that is the way you'll draw most lines when you graph them like this. And you'll just put the arrows on either end, just to show that it keeps going, but you didn't draw any more than that. Okay, now, intercepts. A y-intercept is pretty much what it sounds like. It is a point where it is the point where the line intercepts or crosses over the y-axis. So this is the y-axis, this is the line, this is the point where they touch each other. That is the y-intercept. You should only have one of those. Now the x-intercept is the same idea, only for the x-axis. This is the x-axis right here. This is the line. This is where they touch. This is where it crosses over. That is the x-intercept. Again, for a straight line, you'll only have one of those. Okay, so now let's look at some more specific details for these. So for the y-intercept, you will have the form 0, number. So the reason you have this, now this is just an ordered pair. If you don't know what an ordered pair is, watch the video, I'll put it in the link below. So you have 0, number. You always have a 0 first for your ordered pair because any point on the y-intercept will have an x value of 0. Remember from ordered pairs that this first value is an x value. So if the x value were 1, it would be out here. If the x value were -2, it would be here. However, if you're on this line, the x value is 0. And then we can go up or down, or not, in the y direction when we're talking about the y-intercept. So in this case, we can see that the y-intercept is 1, 2 up. So that's 0 on the x. It doesn't go any direction left or right, anywhere left or right, because it's right here that we're talking about. But it does go 2 up, 1, 2. So our y-intercept, in our case, is 0, 2. Sometimes people will just say 2 is the y-intercept. This isn't very proper, but it is understood. Just because we can assume that the x value is 0 because it's the y-intercept and the x value will always be 0. But it's really better if you say that 0, 2 is the y-intercept to give a proper point for it. Now, for the x-intercept, you've got the same idea. The form is number, 0, the opposite. Because with the x-intercept, you are going to not go up or down because you are on the line. That is, by definition of the x-intercept, you're going to be on the x-axis, which means you're not going up to y1 or down to y-2 or anything like that. In this case, you can see that the x-intercept is at 1, 2, 3, -4 here. So therefore, in our case, the x-intercept is -4, 0. Remember, the 0 comes from because it doesn't go up or down. And it will never go up or down when we're talking about the x-intercept. So anytime you see some number, 0, we're talking about the x-intercept. Same deal with this. This is the correct way of writing it. However, you could just say that -4 is the x-intercept, and it would be understood. Also, note that I abbreviated intercept here. That's also commonly done because that's not that long, but it's longer than this. It's easier to write that. Alright, so now let's talk about slope. Slope is just a description of whether the line's going up or down, or going up very quickly, or down very slowly, or whatever variant of that you would like. You know what the word slope means in general, and that applies to lines as well. But two things we should note about slope is that this is called a positive slope because it is going up. This is called a negative slope because it is going down. So that should be easy enough to remember, but always remember you're looking at the graph left to right like you were reading a book. Left to right. So when you go from left to right, it has gone up, therefore positive slope. In this case, you go left to right and it goes down. It's called a negative slope. Alright, so now let's look at the equation of a line. Just what it looks like. When you represent a line like either of these two, in equation form, it will look something like this. We say y equals mx plus b. That is the equation of a straight line. Y equals mx plus b. Now, what do these each represent? Well, the m is your slope. M will be a number, representing whether the slope's going up or down, quickly or slowly, all that kind of stuff. And b here is the y-intercept, also a number. The x and y can be used in different ways, but they generally remain letters like you see them now. So, just to show you an example of what this would look like, we have y equals 3x plus 1, and I have another one, y equals negative x plus 4. Both of these would represent a line. You could take one of these, you could take either of them, and put them on a graph and say, these numbers, this equation right here, is this line. It represents a specific line. Like an ordered pair represents a specific point, an equation represents a specific line. And then just to point a few things out, if you were to say, what is the slope of this top equation? The slope of this top equation is 3, because that is the number next to the x. Remember up here we said the number that goes where this m is the slope. So in this bottom equation, the slope would be -1, because the number next to this x, even though we don't have a number technically, it would be the same thing as a -1 here. Now, I also put what is the y-intercept, because remember this b value here, or the number that sticks out at the end, is the y-intercept. So you can see that the number that's sticking out at the end of the top one is 1. Therefore, the y-intercept of that top equation is 1. The y-intercept for this bottom one is 4. You can see because that's sticking out here.